Welcome to part 2 on these self-tests for soldering. This one is on safety. This is part 2. The first one was on soldering successfully. That's part 1. If you haven't seen that, I would suggest you go over and watch that. And a suggestion is that you keep track of your missed questions, your questions you get right, and then you can go back and look up the ones you missed later and refresh yourself, because safety is important. Okay, this is a self-test. It's not training. It's not going to be all-encompassing, and proper training is required to do safe soldering. Okay, let's get on with it. There are 18 questions, and let's get on to number 1. Number 1, is lead solder dangerous because of fumes? After each question, I'm going to stop, and you can pause the video if you want to give yourself more time. I'll wait a few seconds, and then we'll go on to the answer. Okay, are we ready? It's only slightly. Lead does not vaporize at soldering temperatures, so those range anywhere from 200 to 400 degrees centigrade. Most of the danger is from ingestion and lead oxides and dust. Okay, number 2, what is the main inhalation hazard when soldering? Okay, you ready? Answer is flux fumes. It contains irritants and possible sensitizers. Now I had to look up what sensitizers are. This is something I hadn't seen before, and a sensitizer can, after repeated exposure, cause your immune system to develop an allergic reaction to it. Not good. Even tiny amounts in the future can cause severe allergic reactions, including skin rashes, dermatitis, asthma, rhinitis, and it is typically a permanent condition. So this is a bad thing. You want to avoid being sensitized to stuff. If you're working in the industry, it may drive you out of the industry. And if you're doing it as a hobby, well, it may be a hobby you can't continue. So you definitely want to avoid this. Why should you never eat or drink while soldering with lead solder? Okay, we've hinted at this strongly. You'll notice this picture right here. Yeah, lead and flux can go from your hands to food and be ingested. Lead builds up easily because it goes into the body much more easily than it comes out. And we already discussed flux. By the way, never hold solder in your mouth or teeth. I have actually seen a famous person in the tech industry who made a video, and they are holding the solder in their teeth, and oh man. Okay, but anyway, he should have known better. It used to be common practice, and I still see people doing it. Don't do it. What is the best way to avoid inhaling solder fumes? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Use a fume extraction hood or fan, or work in a well-ventilated area, and avoid having your face in the path of fumes. I don't know what it is about solder smoke, but it's attracted right to your face. I've heard stories about people saying that our bodies are negatively or positively charged, and the smoke is the opposite charge, so it comes at you. But whatever it is, yeah, flux fumes love to find your face. Number 5, why must you always wash your hands after soldering? Ready? Well, we've already talked about it. To remove lead, flux, and metal residues that could otherwise be ingested. Yeah, so again, you want to avoid lead poisoning. What personal protective equipment is commonly recommended? Now, this is not an all-inclusive list, but I mean, mostly what I do is for home DIY stuff, so I'm not talking about industrial level here. But what is the most commonly recommended personal protective equipment? And yes, safety glasses, ESD wrist strap, and sometimes gloves, depending on the task. If you can't remove the fumes, then wear a filter mask. Here is a filter, a fume extractor. Why are safety glasses important when soldering? Ready? Pretty obvious, huh? Molten solder or flux can splatter and cause eye injuries, including loss of eyes. Yeah, so this is a photo of somebody who got a small metal shard in their eye. Solder is really nasty because it's hot, and I mean, it will scar. So, okay, next, number 8. What temperature range do soldering iron tips operate at? Okay, ready? Typically 300 to 400 degrees centigrade. These temperatures damage eyes and skin instantly, and they can also start fires. Why should you always return the iron to its stand? Yeah, I have to admit, when I started soldering, I didn't have a soldering stand like this, but it turns out that it's more than just a convenient item. It prevents burns, fires, and damage to the work surfaces. A loose soldering iron can roll, tip, squirm into the power cord. So yeah, you'll get your power cord all twisted up, and you'll release the soldering iron on the desktop, and it'll just whip around because it's under, it's under a spring basically. It'll move off the table, drop into your lap. Bad things happen. So yeah, make sure that you have that soldering iron under control, and that includes when it's in the stand. Okay, break time. Let's pause the video, take a moment, and then when you're ready, resume. Okay, back again. Why shouldn't you use soldering equipment with damaged cords or insulation? Yeah, I hope this is really obvious. It imposes electric shock and fire hazard. I mean, cords are often damaged by irons left on the table and not in their stands. Another reason to use stands, and by badly organized work surfaces with tangles of cords. Yeah, I wish I could say I was never guilty of doing this. I have set soldering irons down on the cord. That's because I wasn't using a stand. My soldering gun, the big soldering gun where there's not really a stand that'll hold it. You lay it down because you're working or because maybe you got a little too warm or something. Set it down quickly and you end up burning through the cord, which, best case is it blows a circuit breaker. Worst case is, shock, fire, all that stuff. How does lead-free solder compare safety-wise to lead solder? Ready? Answer to number 11. Reduces chronic lead toxicity risks, but produces more flux fumes due to higher working temperatures. This surprised me. This is something I did not know. And number 12. Why is proper disposal of solder waste important? And I hope, again, this is an easy one. Lead and other soldering materials are hazardous waste. They contaminate the environment. They can cost big dollars to remediate in a home or business. The good news is that lead can often be sold to recyclers, and fishermen, in states that still allow lead weights, I should say. 13, what is the risk of handling freshly soldered joints? This will be obvious to people who've had experience. They can still be hot enough to burn you. And secondarily, if the solder is not hardened, you can create a cold joint. So yeah, temperature issues and damage to your joint issues. Why is electrostatic discharge protection a safety issue? Now, this is something I hadn't thought about. I should have, because I've bought a wrist strap before and it says on the package why. But when I looked this up, I was I shouldn't have been surprised. Ready? Electrocution is a risk if you have a faulty grounding strap. Proper ESD straps have a built-in resistor to limit the chance of dangerous shock. And yeah, the strap is otherwise there to prevent damage to electronics that could cause later failures. MOS and CMOS are especially susceptible. Yes. So make sure your wrist strap is a legitimate one. It has the safety feature of a built-in resistor, and it is functioning properly. Why should you avoid holding wires with your fingers while soldering? And I should say, what's the main reason? You ready? Okay, answer to number 15. Heat travels quickly along the conductor and can burn you. Yes, I don't know how many times I scorched my fingers, or the next day you have a nice callus on the end of your finger. The secondary effect is dropping or shaking the wire as you react to the hot wire, and you end up throwing molten solder around. Yes, I shouldn't laugh. I'm just thinking of the number of times that I have done this, and yes, it's a bad thing. Okay, note, never solder live wires, AC or DC. Don't even think about it. Yeah, AC wires, of course, there's electrocution, shorts. DC wiring, you have shorts, and you can also have fires because of sudden large currents flowing through wires. Why should you not use lead solder in children's products? Yeah, when I was a kid, this was still common practice. I mean, there was not lead-free solder. People didn't think much about it. We still had lead in gasoline. You ready? Well, even trace lead exposure can cause damage to brains. It harms development of young minds. Kids put things in their mouth, they handle things, and they put their fingers in their mouth. It transfers lead to their bodies. You want to ensure that any solder you use in children's products is safe around children. So whether it's lead-free or specialized solder, whatever, or maybe not use solder, maybe use some other form of connection like epoxy, for example. What is the long-term environmental concern of soldering with lead? I'll give you a few seconds to think on this. Ready for your answer? Lead goes into the soil and into the water from discarded electronics. It contaminates the soil. It contaminates the water. It contaminates wildlife and ecosystems in general. So you want to do responsible lead disposal and recycling. It is important. Here's a picture of how lead poisoning affects people, so you may want to pause and look at that. Okay, next. What should you do if you get molten solder on your skin? So here's a nice blob of hot solder. Yeah, this has happened to me way too often. But how should you react? I mean, besides jerking your hand away. Well, you want to cool it immediately under running water. You want to remove the solder carefully. Don't try to remove it while it's still liquid, and then you'll burn your fingertips. Yeah, personal experience with that. You can see this mark right here. Actually, it used to be all the way out to here, but it was the size of a dime, and it's because I was soldering from underneath, which is a stupid practice, as I've said in my other videos. You put your hand right in the way of falling solder. So yeah, bad idea. If it's a small burn, treat it with first aid. Larger burns, you should go and get medical attention. Okay, done. So how did you do? Any answers that you're not sure of, or those that you missed, you should go and research and find out why. Make sure you change your thinking, and safety is important. Okay, so if you've not seen it, you may want to watch the part 1, successful soldering. And yeah, otherwise, I hope you find this useful in your soldering safety practices.